we will talk about the exemptions because they are provided for reasons that have to do with, let's say, poverty alleviation, reasons that have to do with technical aspects of the VAT design.
Mari ma ñëw ci yow léegi loolu bëgg nañu leeral ko bu baax parce que fu mu nekk nii am nañ dañoo ay sales tax buñ paree jóge ci sales tax dem ci VAT nit ñi war nañoo am lan mooy différence yi diggante sales tax ak VAT leeral naa ko fii léegi ne na VAT dafa gën a yokk koom-koom bi ci kees nguur bi tamit mun na am yeneen ak yeneen yoo xam ne mun na koo doxal pour ñi nga xam ne ñooy citizen si ñu gën a mun a am ci lu ñooy yaatu waaye léegi dama bëgg nga leeral ñi nga xam ne ñu ngi déglu ci wolof nga wax leen lan mooy différence yi ñaari tax yi nii parce que ñu ngi bàyyi si benn pour dem ci beneen.
jërëjëf Malick pour suñ mbokki déglukat yi lu Essa doon wax si kalaama angale mooy diggante VAT ak sales tax bu ñu am léegi lan mooy seen ute. sales tax bu ñoo doxal fu mu nekk nii moom si benn place rek lañ ko dee chargé si benn place lañ ko dee chargé mooy businessman bi nga xam ne moom mooy jaay to the final consumer kuy xam ne mooy jaay nit ki yoo xam ne mooy jënd bagage bi dem jëfe ko sales tax bi foofu rek lañ koy charge moom si benn place rek lañ koy chargé ba pare moom yaatuwut comme ni VAT bi di yaatoo am na bagage yu bari wala am na services yu bari sales tax bi moom daf ko bàyyi gannaaw VAT bi nag moom dafa yaatu dafa ëmba bagage yu bari ëmba services yu bari ba pare business stage bu nekk rek saa yu njaay amee si diggante jaaykat ak client rek tax dinañ ko fay ko si VAT ba mu egsi si ku nga xam ne moom mooy jënda bagage bi pour dem jëfe ko loolu mooy seen ute si gàttal.
Fafanding yokuma mooy wax.
Malick o ñinin karo akumata bakere wala mu fadam fanso membe sales tax me alon ko bitlo mbe wala namo tamande ka nyim banku kan lafta VAT say wala no so muna mu wala fadam fanso pour ka kumo ñin suti andi sales tax ni ajibe loi buko membe mbulu namo la kanu nyala sales tax bakaso le fo marchandise le vani service men yalon ko wolel nyanta ka sales tax jo so ni o marchandise ni o service jibe akono mam fanu comme VAT na de starter akono be fan la nyame because VAT men get a value added tax ti atema marchandise to come a man service to come for loi ko men ya marchandise dantan ani service danda men yalon ko loi jibe ko wol dama nyana tarla kono but na man ko wol fengo fenka wafi bankun kan fon fe yalo marchandise wala mo waraka dunna banko ka wala mo ka bonna bantal bankol kan e nyanda anyin VAT tax nyin anyanta charge la wala mo melni ke wafi melni ka sebulu e nyanta nyin namo nyin jolal nyin ka mo sudan ni ko mu nyina mu difference odi wala mu nyina fadam fadodi sales tax ning VAT tema VAT atela kono fanuta te marchandise jama ani service jama ay wolel dabulandi ala loi kono yo boni sales tax jibe ate marchandise dandan nemu ani service dandan wolel dabe sales tax kon donc mu VAT atela kono be fan la katambi sales tax o kono fano kama wala na mansa na mo memmina na miroto mansabe mention la nyin tax la karola a tele nyanta siala katambi sales tax.
Essa, you're the main man in this program and of course you're a project manager for VAT and definitely you'll have to do most of the talking. I'm coming back to you because we've just in our discussion we have come to realize that there are certain areas where you'll pay tax, the VAT, and areas that are exempted. And I'm sure if we'll try to look at the VAT rates, we will see which areas people will not have to, who are exempted. Now, let's look at the VAT rates. What are the VAT rates that you have?
The rates, there are basically two rates. There is what they call the standard rate of 15%. And this 15% is charged when goods are imported into the country. The 15% is also charged when a business that is registered for VAT sells to a final consumer. So whenever a customer walks into any shop, into any business, you buy a service or you buy a good, the rate of VAT that would be charged is 15%. In other words, all supplies of taxable goods and services that are made in the Gambia would attract a VAT rate of 15%. So for goods that are exported, you know, the VAT is based on destination principle. Where consumption is going to take place, that's where the tax is going to be charged, which means the country where the consumption takes place, that's the country that is supposed to charge the VAT. So exports, because they are leaving the country, they are going to another country, the consumption is going to take place outside the Gambia. So that is why by design, exports are zero rated, which means that they are charged VAT at the rate of 0%. So basically, these are the two rates that are going to apply. So
if I'm a farmer and I'm exporting my granules, I will not pay VAT because the final consumption is outside the boundaries of the Gambia.
But let's just clarify something. You know, the VAT operates on the basis of registration. There are those that are in and those that are out, even though they are doing businesses in the Gambia. What determines whether you are part of the VAT depends on whether you meet the registration threshold and you are registered with Gambia Revenue Authority. The registration threshold is $1 million for compulsory registration. If you are selling goods and services in the Gambia and your sales of goods that are taxable, goods and services that are taxable has reached 1 million, you are legally required to register. And once you register, that is the time you can charge VAT, which means that when we start operationalizing the VAT, there would be businesses that would charge and those that would not charge, depending on who meets the registration threshold and you are registered with Gambia Revenue Authority.
Let me take it. Let's get this very clear.
Yes.
If I run a supermarket,
yes,
of course I expect to be around $1 million, yes, so I should pay.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it is the consumers who pay this tax.
Certainly. You got it right. So basically, that's how it operates. What we are trying to do, what the threshold is trying to do, is to eliminate all these small business like the corner shops, these my full-up people, you know, the kind of shops that we operate, because the VAT is complex in terms of record keeping, in terms of filing returns. You know, those are things that you would not expect small businesses to be able to do. So that is why, for the beginning, we said, let's get all these small ones out so that they would not create a lot of administrative difficulties for GRA. So that we only have big ones. Those big ones can now keep proper records, can file and, you know, meet other obligations that have to go with the VAT. In other words, only those who are registered, they are the only ones that should charge VAT when they sell a good or they sell a service.
So a corner shop pull footer cannot charge VAT?
No, cannot charge VAT and is not supposed to pay VAT to Gambia Revenue Authority or even file a return, because there are obligations that go with registration. The obligation is this: once you are registered, you have to charge VAT. But there is one dimension that we are leaving behind that. You know, the business itself is also paying VAT. It is paying VAT on what it is buying in the Gambia and when it imports these goods into the country. So later when we talk about what they remit to GRA in terms of revenue, we'll be talking about these two sides. The side that looks at what they collect from customers and the side that looks at what they are paying as businesses when they purchase and when they import goods into the country.
Martin, you la role ci wolof because fu nek ni yaakar na ne ñu ngi seet ci ki nga xam ne moom la VAT war ak ki mu warut ak ñaata la ñoo fay.
Waaw
ci mbirum VAT ñaata pourcentage la ñoo fay.
waaw mu ngi mel ni comme ni ko doon Esa doon waxee VAT bi dafa am ñaari rates yi mooy percentage bi. Standard rates mooy benn bi mooy goods muy marchandise yi wala yeneen service yoo xam ne ni dafa taxable dañ ko war a understand taxable goods or taxable services yooyu rek ñoo war a attract VAT te boobu mu ngi war a nekk 15%. mu ngi mel ni koo xam ne register nga te nga war a fay li nga war a charge sa goods yi mooy 15%. am nañ li ñoo ooyee tam zero rate mooy marchandise yu nga xam ne dañ koo jëlee si dëkk bi yóbbu ko si beneen réew marchandise bu nga xam ne duñ ko jëfandikoo si biir réew bi fii nii te lu tax tam ñuy def lool mooy pour promote wala dooleel suñ manufacturing industries yu nekk local yu nekk si biir réew bi su ko defee seen goods yi su demee beneen réew mu mun a am doole pour mun a compete ak yeneen goods yu nekk si réew boobu so ñaari rates yooyu lañ am then kan moo war a fay VAT dafa am lu ñu ooyee threshold bi ñu ngi ko peeg at $1 million muy $1 million. te $1 million boobu nekkul ne koo xam ne yaa ngi business rek te nga am $1 million